My girlfriend laughed about cheating on me, saying I'd never suspect a thing. So I quietly left and let her life fall apart without me. Tuesday started like any other. I'm a 27-year-old software developer working for a startup, so my days are usually long and packed. I've been pulling late nights for weeks, trying to hit a ridiculous deadline for a project that kept getting delayed because management couldn't make up their minds. My girlfriend Kay had been supportive, or so I thought. She'd always tell me how proud she was that I worked so hard and that we were building something together for our future. Hearing that kept me going most days, even when I felt completely drained. Kate and I had been together for almost 3 years. We lived in a small apartment downtown, not fancy, but cozy. She worked part-time as a waitress and was finishing her degree. Between her finals and my workload, things had been a bit strained, but I figured that was normal for any couple. We'd argue here and there, but I thought it was just regular relationship stuff. I never once questioned her loyalty. Why would I? She always seemed devoted, even if we'd been distant lately. That day, I had a rare early finish at work. My boss canceled an afternoon meeting, and since I'd already put in more than enough hours for the week, I decided to call it a day. I thought, why not surprise Kay? I swung by her favorite Chinese takeout spot and grabbed her go-to-order sweet and sour chicken, fried rice, and egg rolls. I figured we could have a quiet night together for once. Maybe watch a movie or just hang out like we used to before life got so hectic. I parked my car outside the building, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. It was one of those rare moments where I felt like I was actually doing something right. Not for work, but for us. The walk up to our apartment felt like a relief, like I was leaving the stress of the office behind for a night. I was looking forward to seeing her smile when I showed up with her favorite food, but as soon as I reached our floor, something felt off. The door to our apartment was slightly ajar. At first, I thought maybe she was airing the place out or forgot to close it all the way. Kay could be forgetful sometimes, especially when she was juggling school, work, and her part-time shifts. But still, it was weird. My heart skipped a beat, and I hesitated for a second before stepping inside. I walked in quietly, my ears immediately picking up voices, hers clear as day, and another voice, male. My first thought was, who the hell is that? But then I calmed myself down. Maybe it was one of her classmates or a friend from work. I didn't want to jump to conclusions and look like an idiot for assuming the worst. Still, something about the tone of their conversation made my stomach churn. They weren't just chatting, they were laughing. Her laugh, but not the kind I was used to hearing. It was sharper, almost mocking. I set the takeout bags on the counter as quietly as I could and crept down the short hallway that led to the living room. Their voices got louder. At first, I couldn't make out what they were saying, but then I heard her clear as day. He has no idea. My chest tightened. My brain immediately started trying to rationalize. Maybe she's talking about something else. It doesn't mean what I think it does. But then she kept going, her voice dripping with amusement. He works all the time, so it's easy. He doesn't even notice when I'm out with you. Plus, I've got him wrapped around my finger. Even if he did notice, I could talk my way out of it. I stopped breathing. My body felt frozen in place, but my mind was racing a mile a minute. Was this real? Was I actually hearing this? My hands balled into fists, my nails digging into my palm so hard it hurt. I didn't know if I wanted to cry, scream, or punch something. The guy laughed, a low, smug sound that made my skin crawl. As long as it works out for us, who cares? He said. It's not like you're going to get caught. Her response? Another laugh. This one even more condescending. Exactly. He's so clueless. It's almost sad how easy it's been. And the best part? He thinks I'm stressed about school and that's why I've been distant. It's pathetic. I felt like I was going to throw up. My heart was pounding so hard. I thought they might hear it from the other room. I wanted to burst in to confront her, to scream at both of them for making me feel like such a fool. But I couldn't move. It was like my body had shut down completely. I stood there for what felt like forever just listening to them. The guy said something about how they should be careful, but she brushed him off, saying I'd never suspect a thing. That was the moment I realized I didn't know her at all. This person sitting on the couch, laughing at me behind my back, wasn't the woman I thought I'd been building a life with. She was a stranger, someone I'd apparently never really known. The sound of a bottle clinking snapped me out of my daze. They were drinking, probably out of the wine glasses we bought together on a date night. The anger started bubbling up again, but this time it felt different. It wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak, betrayal, humiliation, all rolled into one giant, suffocating wave. I knew if I walked into that room, I wouldn't be able to control myself, I'd say, or do something I might regret. So instead, I turned around, I walked back down the hallway, grabbed the takeout bags, and quietly slipped out of the apartment. I made sure to close the door softly so they wouldn't know I'd been there. As I walked down the stairs, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold on to the bags. My vision blurred, and I felt like I was suffocating. but I kept moving. I got into my car and just drove. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there. I couldn't face her. Not yet. I don't remember much about the drive. It was like I was on autopilot, just going through the motions of steering, braking, and accelerating without really thinking about where I was headed. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, and my chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. I ended up at a friend's place, not someone Kay knew, which was important. I didn't want her finding me. When I got there, I must have looked like a total wreck because my buddy didn't even ask questions. He just opened the door and let me crash on his couch. I think I mumbled something about needing a place to stay, but I didn't go into details. I couldn't. The words just wouldn't come out. Instead, I laid there staring at the ceiling, my mind running in a million different directions. I kept replaying everything I'd heard in the apartment, her words, his laugh, the clink of that stupid wine bottle. It was like a broken record that I couldn't shut off. Part of me wanted to go back, kick the door open, and confront them both. But the other part of me, the part that was still in shock, knew it wouldn't change anything. She cheated, she lied, and she laughed about it like it was some big joke. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My body was sore from tension, and my head was pounding from lack of sleep. But I knew what I had to do. I grabbed my phone and started blocking her everywhere. Phone number, social media, email, even Venmo, anything I could think of. I didn't want her to have any way to contact me. I didn't even note or send a text explaining why. I figured she'd figure it out soon enough. A part of me wanted her to feel the same confusion and emptiness I felt when I overheard her talking about me like I was nothing. Let her sit in the silence and wonder what happened. I didn't know her anything, not after what she'd done. The first day after blocking her was chaos. My phone buzzed constantly with calls and texts from unknown numbers. I didn't have to guess who it was. She clearly started trying to reach me from different phones. The messages were all over the place. At first they were casual, like, "Hey, are you okay? I haven't heard from you." Then they turned apologetic. "If I did something wrong, please let me fix it." By the end of the day, they were downright frantic. "Where are you? Please, we need to talk." I ignored every single one. She could have called 1,000 times, and I still wouldn't have picked up. What was the point? I'd already heard everything I needed to know. Her excuses didn't matter. Her apology didn't matter. Nothing she said could undo what I'd heard with my own ears. By the second day, the messages started coming through. Mutual friends. I got texts like, "Kay's freaking out. She's really worried about you. And she said you're not responding, and she doesn't know why. Is everything okay?" I still didn't respond. I wasn't ready to tell anyone what had happened. It was too fresh, too humiliating. The thought of saying the words out loud, "My girlfriend was cheating on me," made me feel sick. About a week later, I got the next piece of the puzzle. A mutual friend, completely oblivious to the situation, mentioned something that made my blood run cold. The guy Kay had been with wasn't some random classmate or coworker of hers. He was one of mine. I couldn't believe it at first. It didn't make sense. Why would she cheat on me with someone from my office? Then I started putting the pieces together. The way she casually mentioned his name in conversation like it was no big deal. How she suggested we invite him out for drinks once, saying he's cool, you'd like him. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? But now, it all made sense. The study sessions that went late into the night, the time she claimed she was too tired to hang out after work, all the excuses I brushed off because I didn't want to seem paranoid, they weren't harmless coincidences. They were lies. What made it worse was finding out that this guy had a girlfriend, not just some casual fling, a serious long-term girlfriend who also worked in our office. So it wasn't just me Kay was betraying. They were both playing this sick, twisted game behind their partners' backs, and I've been too blind to see it. I thought about confronting him at work, but I couldn't decide if it was worth it. What would I even say? "Hey, I know you've been screwing my girlfriend. Care to explain?" It sounded ridiculous. Besides, the thought of dragging our personal drama into the office made me cringe. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who brings his messy personal life to work. But, at the same time, I couldn't just let him get away with it. The next day I called in sick. I needed time to figure out what to do. I spent most of the day pacing around my friend's apartment, going back and forth in my head. I wasn't ready to forgive or forget. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The fallout from everything was worse than I expected. By the second week, Kay had completely lost it. The phone calls and texts from unknown numbers kept pouring in, and I had to silence my phone just to get through the day. I'd never seen this side of her before. Desperate, relentless, almost pathetic. She went from pleading for a chance to explain to outright blaming me for not giving her a chance to fix things. She even started showing up at places she thought I might be. I heard through mutual friends that she'd gone by my office a couple of times, crying in the lobby and asking to see me. Thankfully, security sent her away, but the rumors started circulating. At work, people asked if everything was okay, and I just brushed them off, saying personal stuff, nothing major. I didn't want anyone knowing what had actually happened. I wasn't ready to be the guy everyone pitied or gossiped about. But what made it harder was that some of our friends didn't understand why I had gone completely silent on her. They texted me saying, "Case a wreck. You should at least hear her out, or it's not fair to ghost her like this." Fair? Was it fair that she laughed about cheating on me? Was it fair that she turned me into some clueless fool behind my back? I didn't know her a single word, but it felt like no one else got that. The worst part, though, was realizing how deeply this betrayal had burrowed into every part of my life. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her face or hear her voice saying, "He has no idea." I couldn't focus at work either. I'd be in meetings, staring at my laptop, completely zoned out, while everyone else discussed quarterly goals or project deadlines. My coworkers must have thought I was losing it. Then there was him, the guy, the one she'd been cheating with. Every time I saw him at the office, my blood boiled. He acted like nothing had happened, like he wasn't the reason my life had gone off the rails. He'd walk around laughing with coworkers, cracking jokes, and just being his usual arrogant self. It was infuriating. At one point, I started planning what I'd say if I confronted him. I pictured myself walking up to his desk, slamming my hands down and saying, "I know what you did, you piece of crap." But every time I got close, I stopped myself. It wasn't because I was scared. Trust me. I wanted to rip into him, but because I knew it wouldn't solve anything. It wouldn't fix what Kay had done or undo the humiliation I felt. If anything, it would just make me look like the crazy one. Instead, I started digging. I wanted to know everything about this guy, who he was, what made him think he could get away with this, and most importantly, if there was a way to expose him without dragging myself into the mud. That's when I found out about his girlfriend. Turns out she worked in a different department at our company. I'd never met her before, but from what I heard, she was a nice girl. Quiet, sweet, and completely unaware of what her boyfriend was doing behind her back. It hit me like a punch to the gut. She was in the same position. I was completely oblivious to the betrayal happening right under her nose. For a brief moment, I thought about reaching out to her, but how do you even start that conversation? "Hey, your boyfriend's cheating on you with my girlfriend, by the way. Just thought you should know." It felt wrong, like I'd just be adding to her pain. So I decided to keep my distance, at least for the time being. Meanwhile, Kay wasn't giving up. She showed up at my friend's place one evening, pounding on the door and screaming my name. My buddy looked at me like, "What do you want me to do?" I told him to let her in. I figured it was time to face her, even if I wasn't ready. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Her mascara was smudged, her hair was a mess, and her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She looked broken, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. She'd done this to herself. She started talking, rambling, about how much she loved me and how sorry she was. She said it was a mistake, that she wasn't thinking clearly, that the guy didn't mean anything. But the more she talked, the more it sounded like she was trying to manipulate me. She wasn't owning up to what she did. She was just trying to downplay it. "It wasn't like that," she said, her voice shaking. "I never meant to hurt you." I let her go on for a while, mostly because I wanted to see if she'd slip up and admit the truth. She didn't. Instead, she kept throwing out excuses, saying things like, "I was confused and you've been so busy with work. I didn't know how to talk to you." Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I cut her off mid-sentence and said I heard everything. Her face went completely pale. She froze, her mouth slightly open, like she couldn't believe what I just said. "I was there," I continued. "That night I came home early, and I heard you. I heard you laughing about me, calling me pathetic, saying I was clueless, so don't stand here and lie to me." She stammered, trying to say something, but no words came out. For the first time, she had nothing to say. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. "We're done," I said. "There's nothing left to say." She tried to rush toward me, but my friend stepped between us. I think she realized in that moment that there was no fixing this. She broke down right there in the hallway, sobbing and begging me to reconsider. I didn't. I just walked away, leaving her behind. After that confrontation, things got quiet. Kay stopped trying to contact me, or at least I stopped noticing if she did. I blocked her everywhere and told our mutual friends to stop relaying her messages. Some of them understood and backed off, but a couple kept pushing, saying things like, "She's really sorry, man," or "Don't you think you should at least talk to her?" No, I didn't. What was the point? I'd heard her clear as day laughing about me, calling me clueless. That wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. That was who she was. There was nothing to fix, no apology that would erase what she'd done.